to Dixie Alley Weather Center. My name is Caleb Crick. Today is Monday, August 4th, 2025, and I've got a slew of updates for you, especially concerning the tropics, as they are really starting to ramp up in the Atlantic Ocean right now. We already have Tropical Storm Dexter, along with two other areas of development that I'll be talking about in this video. I will also be talking about the major flooding potential as we go throughout the next couple of days, especially in areas like southern and central Alabama, southern and central Georgia, and the panhandle of Florida, where we have already seen areas picking up in excess of 3 inches of rain. And we expect other areas to pick up in excess of 3 inches as we go throughout the next couple of days. All this and more included in this video, so let's get right into it. Taking a look at satellite imagery right now, you can see we have actually a lot going on across the Dixie Alley right now. All this cloud cover is here because of all the shower and thunderstorm activity we had going on yesterday. We still have some of those remaining showers and thunderstorms throughout the morning today across parts of Georgia, Alabama, and into South Carolina, where we've had areas picking up totals higher than 3 inches already. We expect that to continue as we go throughout the day today and even into tomorrow, where we could see even more high rain totals with some of these heavy rain events and big thunderstorms that we're expecting to see over the next couple of days, where some areas could pick up over an inch in an hour with some of those training thunderstorms. But like I said, the moisture is going to continue over the next couple of days in areas like South Carolina, Georgia, and Alabama. Not expecting that to go anywhere. Maybe if you're in the northern areas, like northern Alabama, northern Georgia, not expecting as much in the way of widespread rain shower activity, but you still could get on some of those rain showers. The areas that won't be seeing as much rain and thunderstorm activity will be over here in Louisiana and most of Mississippi, and then down here in the peninsula of Florida. You could still see some scattered thunderstorms throughout the peninsula of Florida with the big tropical environment that we have right now. That's why we have a lot of these tropical development regions, and we will be talking about that in just a moment. Like I said, as we go throughout the next couple of days, there is going to be a lot of rainfall across much of the Dixie Alley, and that's what we are seeing for today. This is the day one excessive rainfall outlook, and you can see a lot of these areas in Georgia, Alabama, and the panhandle of Florida are under this slight risk for at least 15% chance of flash flooding within 25 miles of any given point. That means with some of these training showers and thunderstorms, we get some flooded roadways, localized areas of more flooding, ponding. Make sure you aren't driving through flooded roadways. If it looks too deep, it's probably like if you're driving on the road and you see ponding in an area, it's probably a lot deeper than what you think. Just don't drive through flooded roadways. Usually, the work crews will put out signs and tell you not to drive through specific areas that are too deep, but make sure that you aren't getting stranded, not driving through flooded roadways. I'm not expecting this to be too much of a big deal, but just a lot of heavy rainfall. You guys have been seeing this. This is common. You guys have been seeing this over the past few days with the very moist environment we have down here, the below average temperatures. It's just going to be a abnormal start to August, like I've been saying. Once again, it's going to be wet down here. There's going to be a few impacts felt. Not going to be able to do much outside, especially with all this rain, but if you can get out there in between rounds, it's going to feel cooler, but it's also going to be pretty muggy, especially with all that humidity. As we go into Tuesday, we are expecting the flooding rain to continue across much of the Dixie Alley and parts of Georgia, South Carolina, maybe even extending more into the Appalachian Mountains and then down through Alabama and parts of the panhandle of Florida once again, where we expect heavy rainfall, frequent downpours, possibly frequent lightning with some of these storms. Some of the storms could be on the stronger side as we go through the heating of the day. Once again, the heating of the day is going to be pretty cool because we're in that the below average temperatures for this time of year. So it's not really going to get really hot. So we're not expecting some of those really strong storms, maybe severe storms. We're not really expecting those because it's not supposed to get too hot. Not expecting much in the way of summertime thunderstorms. Just a really moist environment here with potential for flooding as we get multiple rounds of showers and thunderstorms over the exact same areas. But once again, expecting some high rainfall totals, not expecting too much in the way of flooding. But if you live in a flood-prone area, make sure you are heeding those warnings as they come out from your local National Weather Service. Now on to the tropics, and like I said, they are really beginning to ramp up across much of the Atlantic Ocean. You can see we have a new region of 50% chance of development formation over the next 7 days. We got another strong tropical wave coming off of Africa, and as it moves into this more unstable environment, we do expect further development. Where this goes is still pretty uncertain. The National Hurricane Center is expecting this to curve farther out to sea, but there is a chance that this continues going straight and heads eventually towards the East Coast which wouldn't happen until maybe 2 weeks in the future. But this would be something to really monitor, as if this scenario did happen, this could become a pretty big hurricane and a pretty big problem for the U.S. Also, we have Dexter, Tropical Storm Dexter over here, not really causing any problems for the United States. That is heading off to the northeast, expected to become a more mid-range tropical storm. We aren't expecting it to be a hurricane at the moment, but it really could make a run at becoming a hurricane as it moves off to the north and east. But as it moves off to the north and east, it's just reaching cooler water temperatures, and it will eventually begin to weaken. No impacts are expected to be felt across much of the United States. But with this other area of development, there is a possibility for some impacts, including flooding for parts of the East Coast, as we have 30% chance of development in the next 7 days. Actually, a lot of models are picking up on development. The GFS model and the ICAR model yesterday were picking up on some development moving towards the coast of the U.S. and then just sitting over the waters right next to the coast. And that would be a big concern with the flooding, not as much in the strong winds and the storm surge, but the flooding would be a big problem if that were to pan out in areas like South Carolina and North Carolina. Make sure you guys are just staying updated. Hurricane season is definitely starting to ramp up. No concerns for the U.S. right now, but you need to continue to monitor those updates from the National Hurricane Center and from me as we go into the future. Here's a look at the forecasted track, the cone of uncertainty for Tropical Storm Dexter as we go throughout the next couple of days. It is expected to strengthen a little bit as we go throughout the day today and into Tuesday morning, but we do expect this to weaken as we go throughout the day on Wednesday and become a post-tropical cyclone as we go throughout the day on Wednesday. Once again, not expecting any impacts with this. I would show you what this looks like on satellite imagery, but right now, Tropical Tidbits, the site is down right now, so I can't really show you that at the moment. But anyway, it doesn't look anything too impressive. But once again, continue to monitor updates. This isn't going to impact the United States. But once again, some of those other areas of development could eventually as we go farther into the future. And like that, Tropical Tidbits decides to work again. Well, anyway, here's a look at the GFS model. You can see that a lot of moisture once again throughout today, a lot of rain throughout much of the Dixie-Alley and parts of the Panhandle of Florida into Georgia and South Carolina. That will remain as we go throughout the next couple of days. Just a really wet weather pattern. Just make sure if you live in a flood-prone area, you're monitoring those alerts. Once again, you can see Tropical Dexter that just moved off to the north and east. We aren't expecting anything big with this. As it moves further out to the north and east, it's just going to get pulled into the jet stream. Once again, no impacts to the U.S. with that, but we could see some impacts as we go farther into the weekend, as the GFS model is still hinting at some development with that other region of development near the coast. Not expecting too much in the way of development with this, but this is what this is going to do. This area of development is going to bring a lot of moisture to areas along the East Coast. And this could be pretty bad for areas that have already seen a lot of rain in areas like South Carolina and North Carolina. Not expecting too much in the way of storm surge and strong winds, but that flooding threat could be a pretty big possibility, as this is just is expected to be a very slow mover. Now, this isn't going to happen once again like I am showing you, but there is the chance for that, and we need to be monitoring these updates closely as we go into the future for any signs of development with that system. Now, as we go even farther into the future, it gets a little more uncertain. Now, the GFS model is showing this other area of development. That is from that other development region farther off in the Atlantic that I told you that the National Hurricane Center is expecting it to curve off to the north. Well, there still is that small chance that this continues to move, that this moves farther, has more of an westerly track, and moves towards the East Coast. And this would be more of a worst-case scenario for areas like Florida if this became like a major hurricane. Now, this is not going to happen. But there is the possibility for stuff like this to happen as we go farther into the future because of how favorable the water temperatures are, how favorable the ingredients are. We are getting further into towards the peak of hurricane season, and anything could happen. So we need to be continuing to monitor these updates. I will give you these updates. Nothing concerning for the U.S. right now, but continue to check back for updates, and I will give you the latest as it comes out. Taking a look at the temperatures as we go throughout the next couple of days. This is as we go throughout this afternoon. You can see, once again, it remains pretty cool for much of the Dixie-Alley, especially the areas that are going to be getting in on some of that rain-cooled air. In areas like Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina, way below average temperatures, but the rain could certainly be an impact there. Temperatures are going to begin to rise as we go farther off to the west, And in the peninsula of Florida, we could see areas reaching the mid to upper 90s once again. If you do not get in on some of those showers and thunderstorms, as we go into tomorrow, the heat will start to build again, especially in the Florida Peninsula, as we could see more record-breaking temperatures. This is showing areas maybe reaching up into the low 100s again in areas like Florida. And then heat starts to build over in the west in areas like Mississippi and Louisiana, but still rain-cooled air dominating in areas like the mountainous areas, the higher elevations in areas like North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia, and then throughout most of Alabama. High temperatures barely being able to get out of the 70s, which is going to feel really good, but it's going to also be pretty muggy out there, especially with all the humidity. Temperatures will start to rise throughout, especially farther west, throughout the Dixie Valley as we go into August 6th. This would be Wednesday. Temperatures in Louisiana, once again, starting to make a run at the 100s again. And then throughout the peninsula of Florida, temperatures starting to rise again. The only areas that are going to be pretty much below average throughout most of the week is going to be these areas that are getting in on more of the rain-cooled atmosphere. Now, most of Alabama is not going to be getting in on as much rain as Georgia, but it's because of the front that we have sitting here that is bringing a lot of cool air from Canada. And you can see that over here in Canada and up here in Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Iowa. Much of us are getting actually cooler temperatures than some of them in Canada are. Some of them in Canada are going to be getting into the mid-80s, while we'll barely be able to get out of the 70s. So it's going to feel really good. Once again, make sure you're checking back for updates, because the flooding is definitely a concern, especially if we get that tropical wave developing into anything as we go into the near future. And once again, that is all the weather info I've got for you today. Thank you so much for tuning into today's video. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you click the like button and subscribe for more daily awesome videos like this one. I try to post videos every single day, so try not to miss out on any of those, especially as we go farther into hurricane season. A lot going on throughout the Dixie Valley right now. And if you don't want to miss those updates, make sure you're clicking the bell and turning on to all notifications so you get all those notifications when we post a new video, so that you don't miss any more updates. I'll try to keep you posted on what's going on throughout the tropics, but for now, just have a good rest of your day.